has actually retained quite a striking amount of its traditional culture. So if you get into manga, you start seeing these characters taking their shoes off when they enter a home or apartment and kneeling on these grass mats, right? You see characters eating these white rice balls, right? And communicating as they're talking as they're eating these rice balls. You start seeing the architecture. You start seeing ways of interaction and codes of interaction that don't quite seem like Hollywood or like your standard American television show. And these elements speak of a culture that is still very much alive and yet doesn't look to a Westerner like something familiar. It looks fresh. It looks different. And you know, if you love Harry Potter, you can't really go to Hogwarts, right? You can get into it. You can go to England and wander around some castles, but you can't find Hogwarts. And if you love Tolkien and Lord of the Rings or the movies, you still can't go to Middle Earth. You can read about it. Tolkien is really brought it out. He's written elaborately this kingdom, but you can't go there. But if you get into manga and anime, you can go online, and with a few clicks, you can actually see a live webcam in Shibuya or Shinjuku in Tokyo. Not only can you go there, but you can actually see it in real time. And you can tell mom and dad you want to get over to Tokyo as soon as possible for the next vacation. Or if you're ready to buy the ticket yourself, you can save up and actually go to Japan and see these people kneeling on tatami mats and eating onigiri rice balls. It's actually a place that exists. And that's also, I think, a part of the appeal. I don't mean that you can go to every setting in every manga or anime, but you can go to Japan and you can find these cultural elements and you can learn more about them. I've met anime fans who tell me, yeah, I'm still into anime, but now I'm really, really getting into samurai. Okay. So there are fans who are actually taking the next steps and going further and further along. So that's an introduction to the book itself. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm a fiction writer. This is nonfiction, by the way. It's all true. But I am a storyteller, so a lot of what I wanted to do with this book is tell stories about the characters in the industry, not only in Tokyo, not only in Japan, but also here in the United States, to tell stories about the fans, stories about the business itself. Some of you were at the panel I moderated earlier today, which was about the anime industry and this incredible conflict within the industry right now. On the one hand, you have this extraordinary interest and passion for anime. On the other hand, you have DVD sales that have dropped precipitously in the last 5 or 6 years. So that anime producers are really struggling to make money off their products overseas. You also have an incredible conflict within the industry in Japan because Japan has a huge generation gap. And a lot of young Japanese today don't want to work that hard to become anime artists. It's just too much work. They don't get paid enough. So they go into video game production. They go into web design. They go into all these new careers and say, well, forget this animation stuff because it's just too much work. It's too hard. In fact, there's a term for them in the industry. They're called the kamikaze animators. And the explanation is they come in, they work their butts off for 6 months, and then they burn out. And they're gone. They just don't come back on Monday. And so the industry itself is actually struggling now to fill the ranks with young Japanese artists who are willing to stick with it. And Michael Arias, Anthony's partner there, has talked to me a lot about this, about how, you know, he looks around the room and he says everyone is 40 or over in the anime industry in Japan, which is you know, a serious problem. Would that be a point at which we could?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think Roland's book's really interesting and well worth reading if you're interested in anime, Japan, culture in general. I think it provides a context for the stuff that we all are looking at and interested in without sort of playing like the expert or trying to present a theory. And so he gets inside something that we tend to only see from the outside. The chapter or the section that's on